Welcome, everyone, to another recording of the Social Media Newsroom. My name is Pascal 𝗬𝗏, and we are back with more news, rants and raves about your favorite social networks. I say we because I'm joined by the one, the only, Natalie 𝗬𝗏 from 𝗁𝗏𝗃 Media.
Hello, Pascal. It is brilliant to be back.
It is. It's been a while. Life, work, events from the world got in the way. Are you still joining us from the International Design Centre in Gateshead, UK?
We are in sunny Gateshead, and I'm pleased to say it is not raining at this very moment of recording right now in Gateshead today, which is lovely.
Well, I'm joining you from my media studio in France for now, and more about it in the next few episodes. So what we will do with Natalie is come back to you with the headline, the news, the announcement, and also our suggestions about what you might do in terms of small adjustments so that you can get more return on your social media activities. Natalie, this is also really a convergence of two worlds, our profession and our passion, because where possible, we're going to talk about pop culture a lot. We're talking about film a lot. We're just spoiled, aren't we, to be able to do this podcast?
Oh, completely. It is one of my favorite things to do, just to talk about anything social media. And if we can bring in a little bit of film, a little bit of moving image, that makes it all the more better. So I'm absolutely delighted. I can't think of a better way to spend an afternoon right now.
Thank you. Well, because this is a return, we have a new format, 4 segments that are going to allow Natalie and I to explore what it means to be a social media marketer in today's economy. The first segment is a spotlight on one of the many platforms. We're going to do a deep dive about the latest news announcement changes and give you our recommendation. Our second segment will be the one tech or the one tactic to try out. Third segment, this is going to be a fun one. This is called Important, Not Important. I've researched news from other social networks. I'm going to read them out to Natalie, and she's going to decide whether or not it is important or not important. And our fourth and final segment, film marketing social media special. And you chose the film.
I did. Thank you so much for kind of the honor of choosing, Pascal. And I feel like just given where we are in the year, I couldn't not choose the Barbie movie.
Okay, so everybody, by the way, this is a pure coincidence, in terms of the color of my background. This is part of my brand colors. It's meant to be a darker purple, but I think with the zoom I've seen that it makes it a bit lighter. I'm not planning on changing the colors each time we do film marketing moving forward, but there it is. Thank you, everyone, viewers and listeners. We feel very, very fortunate to have your time and attention. We're looking at ways to the convergence and meeting point of two worlds where marketers can become better storytellers and filmmakers can become better marketers. So there we have it. Let's start with our first segment, a spotlight on. So in this segment, Natalie and I react to recent announcements and news from a specific platform. This is a deep dive. And which platform have we chosen for this return to the social media newsroom?
Well, I feel like for our return, the only choice was the biggest social network of all, and that is, of course, Facebook. We'll start big and see what is new in the exciting new world of Mark Zuckerberg.
Absolutely. So we're lucky because at this time of year, you particularly can look back at many conferences, many announcements. I know that with your agency, 𝗁𝗃 Media, you're being invited to kind of briefing sessions and so on. So very, very fortunate to have you with us today. Over to you. Where would you like to start?
Yeah, so exactly as you said, there has been so much new kind of Facebook meta announcements, and also for us a lot of conferences. That means we have to watch a lot of kind of keynotes, which are usually based on the American times as well, so it often means a couple of late nights at the office while you sort of watch Mark Zuckerberg take to the stage and kind of make a copious amounts of notes. So we've had 2 really big Facebook conferences in the last couple of weeks leading up to the recording. The first one is Meta Conversations, and this was the second ever Meta Conversations conference. And actually, to be slightly kinder to us, This one was hosted in Mumbai, so the broadcast time was a little bit better for us tuning in live. It was hosted in India for one very clear reason, which they referenced throughout the kind of entire keynote and then consistently through the breakout sessions. And it's something that if you have heard us kind of discuss this type of topic before, is really big for Facebook, which is India is a mass market that they operate in, and it is a large population, but they have very, very general Facebook activity behavior. So what we learn from an Indian market can be quite easily replicated in other markets. Now, that's not always true for social networks, because some of them will have different audiences using different platforms in different ways in line with different cultures, but they usually then have a few where it is a little bit more appropriate for things like beta testing, for launches, for features, and kind of rolling those out. So the Indian market from a social media perspective has always been a very, very exciting one. But this is the first time that we saw it mentioned so explicitly as to Facebook acknowledging that it's also a very exciting one for them. So the whole view of Meta Connections was to launch the next era of customer engagement. And according to Meta, that's happening right now, and small businesses are leading the way. So this is a very exciting topic. It's a very exciting space to be in terms of understanding how messaging and our communication with brands is changing. And this is referring to messaging in the most literal sense of sending a message to a brand and speaking directly to a brand. This isn't our wider social media messaging where we're talking about the key messages that go in different posts. This is very sort of on the nose. And in terms of Facebook, we are looking at establishing connections with audiences, building deeper conversations, and growing businesses through the power of their messenger tools. So that will be things like direct message on Instagram. It will be WhatsApp messaging. And they did an entire little bit about how WhatsApping has become a known phrase. You might not say, send me a message. You might say, send me a WhatsApp, and how culturally ingrained that platform is. Now, interestingly, for those of us that can remember, the WhatsApp originally was not a Meta product, it was acquired. It's very interesting to see them take that acquisition and put it at the forefront of what they are talking about, sort of leading the way with that WhatsApp integration across Facebook business pages and across the wider web as well. So I've got a few stats, and to sort of headline, it's always nice to have the latest numbers from Facebook. And the numbers quoted were 3.8, sorry, I'm overselling it, 3.8 billion active monthly users across their suite of messaging facilities, which is half of the world using a Meta-based platform on at least a monthly basis to communicate. And one of the things that really consistently emerged as a key theme was this call to action of small businesses that actually your customers are already there, because it doesn't matter how niche or how specialist your business offering is. Of half of the world's population, there's going to be some of your customer base within that for most organizations. So it was really a bit of a call to arms and a bit of an inspirational kind of journey that audiences were taken on. Now, they also had some stats around user behavior, such as 3/4 of the Indian market would prefer to message a company rather than send an email. 80% of Indian customers would feel more connected to a brand if they were able to message them via WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram, but essentially message through a social platform that they already had. The key themes in terms of what we need to be looking at as marketers is that audiences want messaging with a brand that is conversational, instant, in real time, and on an app that they already have, i.e. they know how to use it, because a lot of it comes down to, can your audiences physically send that message? If they need to send you an image, can they send you an image? I know, most people will have some sort of story of, if you need a bit of help and you go into a live web chat with whatever company and you're like, you need to send them an image, but there's no functionality for sending them an image, and it can be a little bit of a frustrating experience. Whereas if these organizations are going to the customer helps break down those barriers and make things seem much more seamless. Now, this might seem like a fairly novel and innovative idea, but if we actually look at social media in another cultural area, and we look at social media in China, and we look particularly at WeChat, around the notion of one app that submerges you into the app, and then you do almost all of your digital activity in that app rather than on the World Wide Web, as we would kind of usually go to our banking kind of website. You might then go and order some food on a different website. In China, all of that is done primarily through the WeChat app. And it also has things where audiences can almost be in constant conversation with brands. So whereas in kind of, I guess, UK marketing, we might have a separate email marketing strategy. Whereas on a WeChat system, it might be that you were in a conversation with your brand. And if there is a new discount code from the website, your brand actually sends you a message to tell you about it. So you're engaging with brands in a very, very different way. And we see Meta as really kind of pioneering that for Facebook. It's what it wants Facebook to become. In other slightly more controversial business news, you also see these types of things when Elon talks about Twitter or X, depends which at the time of publication of this, talking about one place digitally where you do it all. Now, Meta is not being as explicit in terms of we want to dominate the entire world, but they are definitely moving towards all of this recognized user behavior happening in one place. And they are putting their money where their mouth is. So over the next 3 years, looking at India as a case study, Meta is training 10 million individuals across 29 states in 11 languages best practice Facebook business messaging facilities. So it's building a huge population of businesses that are putting the resource and the time into getting messaging right for their customers. Now, that seems great from a small business and customer experience perspective, but it does mean very much that if this is leading the way globally, the pressure might be on for the rest of us to follow suit as Meta continues to innovate and to bring new features to Facebook and to Messenger. So coming soon, we are going to have WhatsApp and messaging flows. So the ability to actually build in a little bit like an email marketing funnel that would flow through receiving different messages at different times, different ways to message our audiences to take them on a conversational journey with our brand. These will be fully customized experiences that you can build. We can also see around that to back things up and make them more trustworthy. Meta is rolling out Meta Business Verified across Facebook, across Messenger, and adding in payment options. So these won't be coming to the UK and Europe market quite as soon as they're going live globally, but actually the ability to send invoices and transact through messaging. So messaging on Facebook set to become even bigger and better.
Wow. And you know what's interesting is, so you and I actually watched live last year, actually, the Meta conversations, didn't we? And already then the message, literally by messaging, was very, very important. I'm curious because you kind of recounting the address by Mark Zuckerberg and others, this idea of connections, meaningful human interactions, and so on and so forth. In a way, they've never deviated from that message, which is interesting. They are repeating the message. Is it because they believe that businesses are still a little hesitant, or is it because actually it's important to reinforce key messages, but as far as they're concerned, we're doing well as a global business community?
Well, I think Facebook would always like us to be spending more time on Facebook. So I think a little bit of it is to keep us indoctrinated in that behavior. I think certainly in terms of we are adopting these things at a rate in order for them to keep innovating. So they clearly see a market and a future in it. So I think we are following that behavior pattern they would like from us. I'm sure they would rather we were all being a little bit quicker or a little bit better. And I think we've all probably had like an anecdotal experience where we have messaged the brand, and the reply or the response or lack thereof has kind of let us down a little bit. So I think it's something that, even if we are, knocking out of the park 90% of the time with our messaging strategy, whether that's something that, for everyone, there's a little bit of space to kind of look back at it and try and gain a little bit of extra perspective and check that it's still really, really hitting the mark. And if you were a customer coming in, are you going to have the best experience? From the perspective of your best customer, your worst customer, and your dream customer, are they getting what they need through the messaging support that you are currently offering on Facebook at the moment?
Because Meta, before they were called Meta, Facebook tried very hard. Do you remember when they were asking us to put widgets on our website? So people could open Messenger and whatever. I mean, this is sort of gone now. So they kind of get it saying, we get it. So somebody who is a regular avid user of WhatsApp, they want to remain on WhatsApp. They may have no interest whatsoever to go on Facebook and Instagram and so on. I mean, case in point, so I had a query about my house insurance in France, and I left France a long time ago. So I've got lots of knowledge gaps, So I wanted to understand how to do something, and I didn't want to go on a website. So I went on the chat area of the website. But when I clicked on it, it opened WhatsApp. And there was something actually reassuring. So, well, I know this, I know WhatsApp, as opposed to using their own kind of proprietary chat feature that the other brand was having. So definitely that business case is indeed very, very valid. So from event number one, Meta Conversation, there was also another one called Meta Connect.
There was taking place about a week, 10 days afterwards was Meta Connect. Now, this one was on home turf for Facebook. So this was very much in Silicon Valley time. And while Mark Zuckerberg made a video appearance at Conversations, he actually hosted and took the stage for 1 hour 45 to really kick off Meta Connect. So this had, although we are used to seeing him at conferences and we're very used to seeing him keynote, this had a lot of extra Mark Zuckerberg present. But it did also have a little bit of a kind of all-star American and kind of wider global cast. So anyone who watched it and enjoyed live appearances from the likes of Snoop Dogg, from Charles Leclerc, from F1 fame, Tom Brady was even involved. So we saw a huge kind of, I guess, show of showbiz connections and really kind of a bit of glitz and glamour that we don't always necessarily see from a social network. So again, around those high production values, it was very, very interesting to see, and interesting that they are flying the flag for focused on building the future of human connection. Now, that's quite a very grandiose claim to make about the work that you are doing in 2023. But we got to see, I guess, a little bit of a glimpse into their priorities, which were very much across kind of, unsurprisingly, the metaverse, AI, and smart glasses. So it was really interesting to kind of see those mix. And at the start, I've got to say, I felt so old because Mark Zuckerberg referenced the phrase to kick off with, in the real world, and our perception of what the real world is. And this perception that perhaps our go-to of referencing something that happened in the real world has traditionally been something that happened offline, but bringing forward the argument that our online lives are so much, I guess, so much of our time is spent digitally, that the line between our online and offline experiences has really started to change. And if you look at things like kind of human connection on a basic level in terms of, phone calls, video calls, and how that has sort of supercharged, particularly post-pandemic, I've got to say, kind of at a point, but I would still very much class the real world as anything that I do that is not on a device. Now, I know that Facebook aren't very happy with that definition, but they are definitely going to be trying to change my mind over the coming months and years. So their new definition of the real world is a combination of the physical and the digital, which in a very handy way lent itself to their definition of the metaverse right now. So good to see that that has not died, despite many negative headlines about how much money and whether user behavior had in fact changed. I would say from that conference, they clearly have very much pivoted. So the metaverse, as we know it with those cartoony avatars with no legs, seems to have changed. quite a bit, because what we were seeing in terms of a metaverse was much more of a blend of this digital space with our physical reality. So they used the conference to launch the Quest 3, which is their new hardware. It is the digital headset and it is your 2 controllers, wireless and battery packless, I am told, so it doesn't ruin your experience of the metaverse. I'm not sure how much cables and wires have been ruining people's experience and how much they're to blame, but that was definitely something that kind of really came up and got a round of applause for that alone from the live audience. So I am reassured that there is evidence that actually having this new device and the new hardware might actually be bringing a little bit more excitement. Now, what they essentially pioneered with this is the ability to add this hardware to your experience of your own property, your own workspace. So the idea that you would go home and you would put on your Quest 3 headset, and some of these examples, again, as someone who is 34 years old, seemed absolutely shocking to me, Pascal. I want to know what your take on this would be, right? But they suggested that you might get home and you might think, I want to watch this particular football match, kind of whatever sport you might be interested in, and rather than switch on your TV, and even rather than have a large TV in your home, you would put on your headset and you would put a digital TV in front of you of any size that you wanted, larger the better, and you would watch that with your space, but watching it on a TV. And that seemed like just, I mean, a little bit of the future right there for me. But I also thought, oh, I don't know whether I would like that. I would love to hear your take on it.
I would love it when traveling, but not at home. So as I'm thinking about the scenarios, and somehow I've got flashbacks of sci-fi movies I've watched where people are doing it with contact lenses, and it appears in front of them. So for me, it's to actually, because when I travel, I watch a movie on mobile phones. So why wouldn't I have a greater experience, or even shut off the world of, maybe a hotel I know by heart and that kind of thing. So I can see about mobility as in being out and about and thinking, I want to treat myself to that experience. But when I get home, I actually want to enjoy the home environment, the entirety of the home environment. So, but yeah, it could be a generational thing. I mean, we now know that I've got friends whose children do not watch television with them, and as parents, to try and organize a family, movie watching. Let's all sit down together in the same room to watch the same movie. You've got to book it weeks in advance, it would seem.
No, these are challenges, and the world has definitely changed, and I think we might see a little bit more of this. Okay, so if you would use it traveling, but you might not use it at home, I've got to pitch you another use that was also suggested for this. Is you would put on your headset at work, and in front of you would be a digital workstation where you can operate Microsoft 365. So you're in a headset in the metaverse looking at a Word document.
Yeah. Again, is it because like the demo they did so many years ago? Remember when they were still playing with what was it called? It wasn't Metaverse. They had something at Facebook Spaces. Remember?
Yes.
So you are literally at a desk, but the desk does not have a keyboard, does not have a computer screen, and so on. And you're literally typing away, and it's manifesting it. I think the biggest challenge they've got is actually what it looks like and feels like. And I've tried, occasionally. I'm nowhere near a regular user of the headsets, but with friends of the show and our colleague, Roger Edwards, and so on, we do go to AV shows because I'm interested in production, and it's still not there. You still can tell that it just doesn't look right, and for some, it's quite tiring to watch something that still is about a screen feeding you images via essentially light, no matter the pixels. So I think that there's fatigue, there's clarity, but the novelty factor for sure, and this idea of I'm not taking anything with me when I'm traveling. I'm back to that. I'm obsessed with traveling. I'm taking the headset because I can work without having anything whatsoever because everything's in a cloud, and so on. And I can also access entertainment. That is interesting to me, very.
Yeah, no, it'll be really interesting to see how people actually adopt it. If this is what they're suggesting as is going to be the uses, I like that you've already kind of put a in this situation, yes, but in that situation, no, kind of understanding of it. Because for me, and my initial reaction was like, oh no, I like to type and I like to,
But
but
quite.
yeah, interesting to see how it could actually be a kind of something that is more positive and uses tech in a really innovative way, rather than when I first saw it, I was like, great, now I've got to worry about a digital TV as well as having a real TV in the lounge. And some of it seemed a touch invasive. So you could put in, they refer to anything that they put in as a digital element within your physical space as an augment, a little bit around kind of augmented reality. But you could actually have like a billboard in your living room with the latest NBA scores on if you wanted to. But I was like, oh, I don't know, and it'll be interesting to see how that kind of continues to evolve. So that was the kind of hardware metaverse kind of summary. Now, around AI as a bit of a hot topic, and all social networks are wanting to be seen as quite pioneering in the AI space. So Facebook sort of had a little look back and a little look forward at AI tools in a way that bring value to your experience. The two that they exampled was their 𝗲𝗲 2 system. So 𝗲𝗲 being something that they've put in place very much around sort of translations and accessibility. So being able to have your text that's written in one language, but have AI translate it into many others. Little things like having your images read to give like a kind of description of the imagery, for kind of just making everything more and more accessible, which is great. They also demonstrated a new AI image generation tool around the sort of same theme of keeping things animal named. This was 𝗬𝗵𝗲, their expressive media universe, and this can generate you quality photorealistic images in 5 seconds. It was really interesting to see, and call to action on that was to play around with the tools. Now, interestingly, from an AI kind of space, we've seen lots of image generation software kind of popping up around the web, a lot of it kind of subscription based or kind of credit based. So you would purchase credits, you would use them. If Facebook is putting a kind of free to use player into the game, that's very interesting. They won't need to worry about monetizing the AI feature. They will simply monetize the user base in a way that they sell advertising, and they do that very, very well. So I thought that could be a little bit of a game changer for small businesses that might want to be doing something with AI generation, but might not necessarily want to pay a hefty subscription to a software company. And the images that they shared did look very good. Now, this AI editing is rolling out with Meta. New AI editing systems are coming to Insta. So actually, it's going to give you suggested versions of the images that you are uploading. They showed some great examples of Mark Zuckerberg's dog being ran through various AI filters, which were adorable, and always a bonus when you get to see some cute dog pictures. But actually, the quality of the images is something that really stood out to me, as this isn't just a slight dabble in AI where we're taking a kind of dog and we're making it look extra fluffy. This is actually, we are taking a photograph of a dog and we're rendering it as if it was an origami dog. So this is kind of heavier hitting kind of graphic manipulation, which is really cool to see those features being so readily available. Now, whether that works for Meta in terms of making business tools even better, but where does it sit in terms of actually giving us an authentic, real online experience? Because some of their platforms, particularly like Instagram, which is getting the kind of the rollout first, are already under quite a lot of fire for not presenting real life images, and perhaps the effect that might be having across the board on things like mental health. So a little bit of a kind of controversial one. They then went one step further. I mean, I was quite shocked throughout this kind of whole conference. And the keynote was a bit of a roller coaster for me, with the concept of AI personalities within Meta and within the metaverse to help you and your business with certain things. So this wasn't the idea of a universal AI, and we would kind of reference like, oh, well, ChatGPT does everything. It's this one standalone entity. Instead, Meta was more focused on bringing to Facebook different AI profiles who were specialists in particular fields. So you might have one AI that was a travel specialist, one AI that was a craft specialist. These were things that they kind of referenced. So if you were wanting expert help, you could approach a specific AI. Where it then went one step further is that these AI systems, Facebook is going to be creating profiles for them on Facebook. So you can actually be friends with an AI system on Facebook. And ultimately, in time, these are going to have their own avatars and they're going to live in the metaverse. So in addition to our kind of going online, we can go online and we can have a conversation with a Facebook AI, which is sort of like a real entity on Facebook. I was shocked at that. It had some great examples, and they'd obviously got a bit of celebrity collaboration on there because they unveiled a Snoop Dogg Dungeon and Dragon Master. So if you were playing Dungeons and Dragons in the metaverse, or they gave an example of people that are playing this via WhatsApp. I didn't know that was an option. That is a whole new world for me, that people might be having Dungeons and Dragons groups. You can actually now already add the Snoop Dogg Dungeon Master AI to your WhatsApp group, and he can be the dungeon master for you and your friends. So I thought that was quite cool. And then it got a little bit scary. So they're actually opening this up to an AI studio, so any developers can build their own AI systems on there, and also adding in a sandbox. So even if you are not an AI developer, what a sandbox is in kind of like a digital sense is it's somewhere that has kind of systems that make it dead easy to play. So if you don't have any proper tech skills, hands up for me on that one. Like if I wanted to add an element to our website, but I didn't want to code it, I can play around with some templates in a sandbox and generate that and then kind of plug it in. It is the same in terms of kind of building your own AI. So you won't now need any coding skills to generate an AI for your business that's specific to your business, that has a profile that lives in the metaverse, if you choose for it to do so, that then can interact with your customers and be friends with them, which is kind of a game changer, I think.
Thank you for that amazing summary. My mind is racing with all the different applications, whether that's in the world of business or the film as well. I'm thinking, well, people watch trailers remotely; they can do this and do that. But the latter part of your summary around essentially selecting a digital assistant that suits you from a temperament point of view, but also from the needs and wants of the business. That is exactly, if I may, suggest for a moment that what I've been saying about AI, because I think it's a wrong acronym, it's a wrong everything. These are tools that can assist in you doing something or understanding something better. And we all have a tendency to, kind of humanize everything, even objects, and kind of have affection towards things like cars and houses, and in my case, obscene amount of Blu-rays and DVDs. So I think it makes sense. I mean, this is back to the early days of Microsoft Office. Remember when we had the pay-per-click and the dog and
oh, Clippy, yes.
So we like to have fun in a process of doing work stuff. And I can see a digital assistant. I mean, for some reason, my mind is going straight into Prometheus. When the name of the character played by Michael Fassbender escapes me there. Dave, is it Dave? I think
I want to say
it could
yes.
be.
I'm going to say yes. Yeah.
Listeners, viewers and listeners, correct us if we've got that wrong. But this idea of you appoint an assistant and they help you do things better. And I think on this one, Meta, I'll onto something. I'm going to ask you for two final snippets of information and reactions. Or firstly, let me ask you: was Mark Zuckerberg wearing the same jumper? That's my.
He was not. He would look super casual, but I did like his trainers. So.
It's for viewers and listeners, again, it's that kind of private joke between Natalie and I. Wish I was seeing Mark Zuckerberg back in the days of F8 and more. It looked like he was wearing the same jumper. That's the sign of being a genius, where you don't worry yourself, waste time choosing what to wear in the morning. So tell us more about whether or not what can we look forward to when it comes to the multiple personal profiles and the 𝗧𝗵𝗲 business rollout?
Yes, so Meta verified business rollout, which is easier done than said, is simply an opportunity to give Meta some of your money from an organizational perspective. However, it does give you verification badges, and they are increasing a few bonus features, things like better access to Meta support in there. So if you are looking for a more premium solution, or if Meta is a vital part of your marketing, and I know for any of us marketers, building a kind of community on any social network is a little bit like building your business office in sand on the beach. You don't quite know how long it's going to last. It will be a nice additional safeguard in case anything did come up that was going to cause your business any particular level of trouble. You've got a bit of enhanced support from the platform itself. You also get that little verified logo, which means that you are safeguarding your brand, you're protecting it from imitation, and audiences are more likely to trust you if you are doing things like giving a higher level of customer support via Messenger or taking orders digitally. It just helps with that verification. So it's a little bit of a tick in audiences boxes. It's not entirely dissimilar to having that little kind of, the lock logo on your website to indicate that it's safe. So just something there that will really help promote kind of individual user confidence in a space where audiences are right to be super vigilant and quite hyper aware of who they're talking to and is it the right entity for a brand. So that one's a nice natural progression. I think I would ideally like it to be a not paid feature, because I think it would open it up to other organizations that kind of need it. But I do understand, rather than overwhelm the system, certainly having it as a kind of opt-in with a service charge so that you are able to access a higher standard, that completely makes sense to me. And then we've got your multiple profiles. So this one is a really interesting one. And I think it tackles something that Facebook has kind of always struggled with a little bit, which is to be completely compliant with the Facebook guidelines. You should be using Facebook in a way that is in your real legal name. So you should always have ID for whatever your Facebook username is. A government ID, like a driver's license, like a passport, like something, even a birth certificate that you can prove is physically you as a person. And if you are not, please do think about changing that, because it is one of the most common issues that we see, where users have set up a Facebook in a name because they don't want to be found online for whatever reason, and then something happens, then they can't verify that account to get back into it, and they might even lose their business page as a result, just because this gets locked down. Now, this is for everyone's safety and security on the internet, because everything that we do and say in a space where we need to be responsible for the things that we do and we say, actually having your legal name next to it, it helps protect those other users around you. And even if you think, oh well, I would never say anything to someone online, or I would never do that, there are plenty of people that would, unfortunately, and they are amongst us. And we see through networks like Twitter/X how dangerous actually having faceless accounts can be that aren't linked to individuals. So the reason that Facebook is so adamant that everyone must be using Facebook under their real legal name is so that there can be a level of accountability. Now, that said, this is finally Facebook acknowledging that we might not all want to be using Facebook under our real legal names at all times. And this essentially allows us to have our Facebook login with our real name, and then up to 4, so it's gone super generous right off the bat, up to 4 alternative profiles, and we can call these whatever we want, and they can have their own separate username. It's one single login, and then you switch between them. So you can have a professional profile under one name, and these can have the same names if you would like them to. They would just need a slight variation on the username. So if you are happy with your name in different kind of spaces, so essentially you can have one profile for hypothetically yourself. That's your real name, and it is all of your leisure and family and friend space. Then you might want a professional profile where you can put all of your work contacts, and you can actually talk about work things on Facebook that you might not necessarily want to post because you don't want your friends and family to think you are boring and constantly like on the clock. Or you might know that that type of content, it's not going to get engagement from a lot of the people that you connected to, but for that 10% of work contacts, that actually is quite relevant to them. So you might find that you can then share different content. Now, you might also find that you have hobbies or interests that are quite niche to you that you want to keep outside of those kind of main spaces. And having an additional profile on there, you can have that focused around the things that you are super passionate about, and that can have a random name. So this could be like Natalie movie fan, and that could kind of go into that. And from there, I can participate in Facebook groups and I can have conversations, but I can keep these conversations separate. So if I did accidentally upset someone who thought that the Barbie movie wasn't so great, and I've said it's fantastic, they can't then email me at work and tell me that my opinions are wrong. So it sort of gives us a little bit of a kind of more safe space. It also opens it up for, there are a ton of Facebook groups around kind of interests or experiences that might not necessarily be something that people want to shout about for their personal profile, but they might be able to get a huge amount of support from. So if you had a particular medical condition, hypothetically, and you wanted to join relevant groups that share tips, advice, and those types of things, but you might not want, someone that you met at a business networking event who connected to you on Facebook to see that you're active in these groups, you might not want to keep that separate to your friends and family, that you want to keep that content more fun. You can set that up so you can actually create these different spaces where you can get a more fulfilling experience from Facebook in line with that, as long as we are playing by the rules and you've got that one central main profile that you can then go off from. So it's going to be a bit of a game changer. Everyone's got access to this, and it doesn't matter whether you are registering with Facebook right now or whether you're already registered. You can go on and you can start to sort these out into those different categories and usernames to create a bit more of a divided experience for your meta personality.
That is a game changer, because I've got so many customers who've got multiple activities, and I've tried so many different ways to make it work by saying, well, let's adopt the other week for that particular key message so that people don't get confused and they work it out for themselves. But it's a compromise. It's not a very elegant solution. This is just absolutely spot on. And will allow everybody to be happy from a legal standpoint, as well as a very, very practical one. Very, very good. Thank you so much for doing the research and for having, allowing us to have the deep dive, that spotlight on Facebook. We're going to split things up with our next two segments. We're going to begin with brand new for us, the one tech or tactic to try out. So in this segment of the show, I'm going to invite Natalie to share her recommendation, suggestion about maybe an approach, a tactic, a strategy we should try out, or maybe some tech or an app that you've come across. So what would be your recommendation for this episode?
Well, given that we've talked so much about the importance of conversations, I am going to recommend that for this month, you give your Facebook messaging system or Instagram or any other platform that you might choose to be on a comprehensive audit. So make sure that you're actually looking at whether you've got autoresponders in place, what the real digital experience looks like, and having a little bit of a read up on best practice. I know we have got a fantastic resource to share in the form of the Facebook best practice messaging guide, which has tons of hints and tricks and also some really good case studies in there. But what I would recommend, if you absolutely can, get someone to mystery shop your Facebook messaging experience. So get a trusted friend or family member. And if you're in a small business where it's not you who personally picks up the messages, this is perhaps even more eye-opening. Get them to send a message to your Facebook page, posing as a real customer, and see what that experience is like, and make sure that that is as wonderful as you would want it to be. And if it is not, put some processes in place to kind of make make sure that it is improved. That would be my top tip for kind of implementing some of the things that we've talked about. It also stands you in good stead for any future messaging developments, which is super exciting.
Yes, and we'll put the link. Thank you very much for researching it, to the best practice guide. We'll put a hyperlink. People can access that as well. So for me, actually, it's all to do with recent experience of giving some consultancy and advice to customers, including filmmakers, around the pinned post. So on Facebook in particular, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, you can also do some featured posts and so on. Some of them looked very dated because of the date stamp. So it's tricky because, of course, the information is relevant still. It's still a good trailer to watch. It's still a good brochure to consult. It's still a good welcome message. But because of the date being affixed to that post, it looks dated, looks neglected. And first impressions are so important. So my tactic for this month is to review your pinned post and change them. And in fact, what I would recommend, Natalie, is people actually look ahead as part of their content planning activities. There should now be an item on the agenda called the pinned post, whereby monthly, I think, is about a good rhythm, a bit like the cover of a magazine being changed, or using different poster design for your film and that kind of things. You kind of refresh and reset someone's goodwill to be part of your online ecosystem, because I've seen it from tourism organization to brands and more, where it's July 2019, the pin post, and you kind of go, that feels old. And even if it was early of this year, people think it gives the impression, wrongly, sadly, they reached a conclusion that you've not looked after that account. And then I thought it would be a bit generous, if you'd allow me, since it's a return, and I want to add a tech as well to try out. This is a wonderful platform called 𝗍𝗵𝗲, and this is like the ultimate destination for file conversion, repairing files, compressing files, changing from MP4 to MP3, from PDF to doc. This is like the ultimate directory of links to usually AI powered solutions to help you with your content creation, content conversion. So 𝗍𝗵𝗲 should be literally up everybody's sleeve as social media marketers, because we're forever having to reproduce content and so on. So pin post, and here's a digital assistant for you, 𝗍𝗵𝗲. I'm going to move on, if that's okay with you, with a new segment, number 3, important, not important, just after this. Now, this is a segment that I'm so looking forward to this. What I've done, that I've researched, I'm going to present in a moment, news and announcement from other social networks. I'm going to ask you, Natalie, to react by stating important or not important. And then once we've gone through the list, I've got about 10 news items. I may pick one or two to get you to expand on why you think it's important in particular. So let me begin with news item number 1. Meta's Threads, the competitor to Twitter, allegedly. Threads is forecast to grow its user base by over 26% in 2024 and 13% in 2025 for a total of 34 million users. Important or not important?
I think important. Definitely. Anything where big user bases are happening is important.
All right, let's move on to number 2. Research commissioned by TikTok found adverts featuring real people remixing a TikTok trend and crafting a creative story generated longer watch time.
Not important. We knew it already, but thank you, TikTok, for verifying.
Pinterest has opened the Possibility Place, a physical venue which includes a corner shop, a beauty bar, a DIY store, a tattoo parlor, and more. This is Pinterest's first ever consumer pop-up experience.
Not important, but I really like it. Thanks, Pinterest.
According to a survey by Social Media Today, 43% of people are stating they are spending way more time on LinkedIn.
Oh, important. We could all use that knowledge to strengthen our connections and presence there.
From social media again, Instagram remain usually popular despite replicating other apps' features according to 42% of people surveyed.
Oh, not important. Most social networks probably have a significant overlap, and Insta has a bit of a cult following, so not too surprising.
The European Union Digital Services Act, DSA, came into force on the 25th of August. The aim is to regulate internet giants and to keep users safe online and stop the spread of harmful content.
Important from a historical perspective, but I don't think it's going to change the world quite yet.
All right. Instagram's testing a new privacy element with the capacity to hide your like activity from other users if you choose.
I would say completely neutral. I think for some people, it's going to be super important for what they're engaging with online. But I think for most users, not that important.
𝗁𝗃, formerly Twitter Blue, subscribers now are able to hide their checkmark if they choose to do so along with their likes.
I think personally as a Twitter user, this one's quite important. Understanding that people might have more power on the platform and access to more tools is really important. So that being less transparent is not a great thing.
And finally, TikTok launches TikTok Shop. This latest initiative brings shoppable videos and live stream directly to users' feeds.
Oh, important. We've seen a lot of platforms try and get that shopping element right. And if you are selling something that is targeted to the under 25s and comes in at a price point under £40, this is probably going to be a huge opportunity for your brand.
Thank you very much. Right. I'm going to go back to the first one because it was important, Threads, and the forecast that is going to grow and grow to a total of 34 million users by 2025. So I know that when it was first launched, people went en masse to try and have a go. I know you did as well. I am more of those who wait for things to break first before using it. Now, generally, I was super busy when it happened. And I thought, if I go on Threads, I'm going to spend so much time on Threads. Work is going to take, I'm going to have very short nights moving forward. Is it one that we should really generally plan for moving forward, whether we are a business, a film distributor, from industry to entertainment? Is one that has to be part of our strategy moving forward?
I think it is. Now, I am not an active Threads user. I got on there on the day. So as soon as I was able to, and I was in London for work, and I remember it vividly because I was like, I need to post something on Threads. So I think the only time I've ever threaded or posted on Thread is a picture of a shard that got no engagement on it. So that was not, it wasn't the sort of pinnacle of my social media posting. However, I remember vividly going for lunch, and the table next to me was talking about Threads when it launched, and a couple came in to get food from the counter, and they were talking about Threads. So I was sat in this little coffee shop, just kind of having my kind of mid-meeting kind of a kind of sandwich, and I was thinking, wow, this is huge, because how often in like civilian life do you hear people talking about social media like that kind of prominently? So it was absolutely massive when it launched. Now, it launched early, and that's something that we really need to bear in mind with Threads, because the functionality just isn't there. It has hashtags, but they're not incorporated yet. So Threads is aiming to incorporate hashtags, so we can go on, we can search for content, and we can bounce around and find all this great bit of content. And that is going to be the element to starting these online conversations. It's something that, is really propping Twitter up, X up at this stage, is the idea that you can go on and you can discover content in real time. And we're all very used to it. If you're watching like a sports match, or if you are watching a TV show and it puts the hashtag at the end, and you're like, oh, I must see what people are saying about this online, and you kind of go to that kind of tribal, looking for everyone and looking for those connections. So it's really important for Threads to get that functionality, because that's what's going to make it a network where people can go on and discover and build connections. At the moment, it's a little bit sort of, shouting in a room, and depending on who's there, they may or may not hear you. So I'm really positive about Threads. And one of the reasons that I have to be positive about Threads is because I'm a big fan of Twitter, and Twitter, now X, that is going to change more as I currently see things. And it makes me a little bit sad that kind of network that a lot of people kind of value for having these great online digital conversations is changing. And it has been recently announced in an interview with Elon Musk, whether this will come off or not, that ultimately Twitter will be going to a paid only platform. At that point, I do imagine there'll be a mass exodus of users, because your average social media user or someone that has Twitter, I always think of, like, you know, my parents being an average digital example. And my dad knows how to go on to Twitter. He doesn't tweet, but he knows how to go on, and he knows how to look at news articles that he likes. He knows how to look at the Formula One news and the kind of the breaking news and what's being said behind the scenes at the race and things. So he uses it in that element. He's not going to pay for that, you know, that kind of facility. So if there is the functionality to go elsewhere and to get that conversation, which is all of what Threads was kind of built upon, this safe space to have good conversations, I think that will be the kind of the space to go to. So I'm really kind of pro Threads, just as a kind of approach to networks. Now, in terms of what we're recommending for clients at the moment, we are recommending get your username on there. So get your profile registered. If you already have Instagram, it is literally like a couple of clicks. So it should be a speedy one for you, Pascal, when you do finally get around to it. And just have that for the time being. We have got some early adopter clients who are running full Threads strategies. We are seeing a lot of people just syncing their content from Instagram. I would advise, if you're going to sync from anywhere, sync from Twitter at the moment, because it's more of that speedy messaging and less around your visuals. But, you know, you don't want to have a content where it's just your Instagram, but replicated on Threads. Use Threads for what it's kind of meant to be, which is more of that text-based kind of experience. And if you've got the resource and you think you're going to enjoy it, go for it for the time being. For everyone else, get those usernames in place. Maybe keep your powder dry in terms of keep that resource in other areas. And as that active user base goes up, add it in and deploy it as and when you can, because I think this is going to be the future. And I think Threads is the future of Twitter, but that is so up and down that we'll have to see what happens to. I mean, I can't even say what happens to the blue bird anymore, because that's already gone. What happens to the big X?
Yeah, it's meant to change, you know, allegedly from Elon Musk, it's a temporary position. And for me, Threads, just to close on that, I am actually motivated to use it for something very, very targeted and very niche, which would be potentially the Film Marketing Academy, and to have only that subject matter to be discussed and have conversation on that as well. Thank you for your action on the not important segment. We've reached final segment, a film marketing social media special, just after this. You chose one of the 2 or 3 movies that made summer 2023 really, really exciting, Barbie. Let's remind ourselves and watch the trailer.
Hey, Barbie. Can I come to your house tonight?
Sure. I don't have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song. You should stop by.
So cool.
You can find me under the lights, diamonds under my eyes.
This is the best day ever. It is the best day ever. So is yesterday, and so is tomorrow, and every day from now until forever. Do you guys ever think about dying?
When my heart breaks,
Some things have been happening that might be related.
when my world shakes,
Cold shower, falling off my roof, and my heels are on the ground. What do I have to do? You have to go to the real world. You can go back to your regular life, or you can know the truth about the universe. The choice is now yours. The first one, the high heel. You have to want to know, okay? Do it again.
closer I am to find, closer I am to find.
I'm coming with you.
Okay. Wow, this is the real world. What's going on? Why are these men looking at me?
Yeah, they're also staring at me.
Barbie in the real world. That's impossible. If this got out, this could mean extremely weird things for our world. This would be catastrophic!
We haven't played with Barbie since we were like 5 years old. Oh.
No one rests until this doll is back in a box.
Even if nobody else sings along.
Humans only have one ending.
Get that Barbie!
Ideas live forever.
No, I won't let you do just one appendectomy.
But I'm a man.
But not a doctor.
Can I talk to a doctor?
You are talking to a doctor.
And I need a clicky pen?
No.
A sharp thing?
No.
There he is. Doctor!
Somebody get security.
Is Barbie if you still in doubt?
So, confession time. I've not seen Barbie yet because I really wanted to see it in its original language. I didn't want to see a dubbed version in French. I mean, on occasion they do play the movies in English, but they put French subtitles, which I find very distracting because I end up watching the movie in English, look at the subtitles, then critique the subtitles. Very distracting. Very distracting to watch a film. Have you seen Barbie?
I have, yes. I watched it when it came out for the home release. So I didn't have the full cinema experience. I didn't quite get around to it quick enough, but it was definitely on my list. And as soon as I saw that I could watch it digitally at home, I was straight on that bandwagon.
And your conclusion and feelings about Barbie?
Well, full disclosure, I think I am probably the absolute target market for that film because I was, even as a kid, I was a bit of a tomboy, but I still loved Barbie because there was enough Barbie within the Barbie range that I could, the biggest thing for me was having my Barbie Ferrari with my Barbies in it. So although my Barbies didn't usually wear shoes because I didn't like putting high heels on them, they were able to drive around in their Barbie Ferrari. So I remember all of the toys and the elements very, very fondly. So it was a great nostalgic kind of viewing experience for me. But if I was to look at it more critically in terms of the storytelling, the composition, all of the elements and how they came together, it was just a great romp. It didn't take itself too seriously. It tried to take a bit of a bigger picture narrative, but it didn't let that get in place of it being a little bit silly, a little bit funny, and a little bit entertaining. And for anyone who sort of remembers Barbie really fondly, but maybe finds themselves in a not so Barbie world as they progress towards middle age, that was something that kind of really resonated with me. So I think it was a very relatable but very magical film.
That's certainly the impression that I got from the reaction that I saw. For me, when I first heard about it, like everybody else, when there was a teaser post and trailer, my reaction was, ooh, you better get this right, because and they did. But for me, what's really thrilling from a production point of view, I know that you had your foray into video production as well and more. You know for a fact that there were so many decisions they could have taken, there's so many directions they could have chosen, but actually, oddly, there was only one that could have worked, and it's the one that they took. That makes any sense. So to me, it felt a dangerous endeavor. But why not? After all, we've had Transformers, we've had the other one. I'm going to say action joke. That's probably not the right one. But all the toy type franchises or inspired franchises that have been there. So why not do this one? Particularly at the time where people wanted to be entertained and wanted to go to the movies and have a kind of it was a social moment. People were together to have a laugh and to reflect on what that means. So this is film marketing social media special. There was obviously hashtag Barbie the movie. Very, very cleverly, there was also different distribution channels. You had hashtag Barbie the album, which had its own platforms, and hashtag Barbie IMAX as well, IMAX selfie. And then we'll talk in a moment about, as a PR stunt, hashtag Barbie watch party. They had an official website, Twitter account, or X. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it still reads twitter.com/Barbie the movie. They had Instagram, they had Facebook, and then they had some presence in Snapchat and TikTok and so on, but via the Warner Brothers kind of official channels. And as keen scholar of social media marketing for film, I can see that those brands are really struggling to get TikTok and Snapchat to work for them, but they are there, and we'll see what Threads is. So we're going to go through, viewers and listeners, almost with regard to our findings of social media with tactics almost listed for you one by one. I'll begin, Natalie, with essentially for me what I liked about the social media activities. They got the basics right. From the point of view, just starting with a layout of the Facebook header photo, the graphics and the text had been maneuvered in such a way that it would work on laptops and mobile phones. You don't see that often. Often there's one version of the film header picture, Twitter, into Facebook, and so on, and then usually the mobile version is the one where that profile picture in the circle is masking some of the information. And I thought at least they got that and many other things right. And of course, they were leaning on the brand colors and the calligraphy and so on, which we'd expect. Tell me more about what happened with the Barbie IMAX selfie.
Oh, so the Barbie IMAX selfie was part of almost like a phased release of the Barbie movie. So initially it had the kind of the full cinema release, and then as the sort of cinema kind of experience had been running for a couple of weeks, they brought in towards the end of its cinematic run the IMAX screening, and it was Barbie as you've never seen it before. So this was a really great opportunity for them to mop up all of those people who hadn't seen it yet but needed to get round to it, and those people that had seen it and said, I'll go and see that again, or wanted to go and see it again. And we know people had all manner of fun dressing up to go to the cinema and kind of go and see it. So it really capitalized on that element. But the Barbie IMAX selfie was a great use of user-generated content, a little bit like the watch party. And this was essentially a call to arms for your digital fans to go and experience the Barbie movie at the IMAX. And then at the end of the film, so stay all the way through the credits, although there were some great Barbie-themed songs for you to enjoy throughout the credits, they had a special screen at the end of the film that would come up with relevant kind of branding on it. So you could go to the front of the cinema and take a selfie with you and the screen, and then share that on social media using the hashtag Barbie IMAX selfie. So it generated a huge amount of additional chatter about the film because people were sharing this real experience that they were having. And user generated content is great for two key reasons. Mainly that it utilizes your audiences, and it means that you are talking about you're having your brand talked about in a way that's real and marketed using real people. So we're not selling the idea that you would go and see a film with Margot Robbie in it anymore. We are marketing the idea that you would go and see a film because someone that you went to school with 5 years ago went to see it and they really liked it. So it puts it into a different place and gives a stronger sense of FOMO. Perfect for getting a last bit of ticket sales, or meaning when it does have that digital release at home cinemas and it comes available on streaming services, your audiences are actually quite hyped to watch it because they might not have got around to it at the cinema, but they know that a good amount of their friends and family have seen it, enjoyed it, maybe even seen it twice, and now they want to see it too.
And to your point, then we move into the home environment. Now, I thought that was very, very clever. I mean, it's also simple. It's one of those where, the purpose of the film marketing social media specialist to give you ideas that you could use in any industries. Like I said, it's back to marketers becoming better storytellers and filmmakers becoming better marketers. But at home, hashtag Barbie watch party. And the brand, Barbie the movie and producers behind it, they took the initiative. So they had Barbie bingo cards. They had Barbie watch party invitation you could download. They were asking you to take pictures, of course. They even sent you an agenda for the day. 9 o'clock, get up. 10 o'clock, get ready. Do this. Prepare food for your friends and so on. They were really getting behind it. And there was live conversation with the filmmakers and the producers on X, formerly known as Twitter, at the time of the watch party.
No, it was a great experience and a good kind of opportunity for them to shift a ton of merch around it, because a lot of the idea of the Barbie watch party was you would host the perfect Barbie watch party, which might include all array of Barbie branded items. And if you've been in any high street store this summer, you will have seen a wealth of Barbie branded, let's say, accessories through to tat in terms of things that you might need. But this was certainly the type of kind of event that encourages audiences to consume a little bit more and to really add to that experience. But then that just becomes a more memorable experience for them, and it just helps kind of cement it as a bit of cinematic history, because it's probably going to be one of those films where if you did go to the IMAX and take your IMAX selfie and it was something that really resonated because it plays on where you are currently in your life and memories of your youth, this is probably going to be a film that you kind of remember seeing, and you kind of remember that experience. So I think it's cementing its place in cinematic history by giving users a bit more of an experience.
I mean, I know you spotted it as well, the plethora of meme kind of content, by taking snippets from the movie or a still and changing the kind of caption to something of the moment. I thought that was also, it was funny. I mean, it made me smile every time I saw one.
No, absolutely. And that's the type of thing where it just brightens your digital experience, and it's super shareable, because then you can send it to your friend that you know will get the joke, and it just kind of keeps that kind of experience snowballing, particularly on platforms like Instagram, where functionality is limited. There's no reshare. There's a huge market for that relatable content to actually be kind of published more. We would refer to that as kind of darker activity, just simply because we as brands can't see those kind of direct messages to others, but we know that there's almost like a little private viral effect going on when you share meme-based content.
No, that's great. I know that there's been, again, so many brands who have joined in, as they would, with the 𝗬𝗵𝗲 or all the others. But one thing that I've missed, but you spotted it as a PR stunt, looking at the initiative of the Barbie marketers, if you will, was the Barbie skate team taking part in the Washington, D.C. Pride Parade.
Yeah, we saw all manner of kind of Barbie, I guess Barbies coming out of the Barbie world and being in the real world amongst us. So we saw kind of in London, we saw the Barbican kind of train station, but we also saw, and one of the big ones and one of my personal favorite ones was, particularly because it was a bit of a throwback to around the hype before the film came out, and we saw all of those images of kind of Margot Robbie and kind of Ryan Gosling on set in those. And again, if you had a Barbie in about the same eras that I did, so probably 90s through kind of like early noughties maybe, your Barbie, if it had roller skates, was wearing like a neon skate outfit. So it was super kind of iconic in that kind of element. But they actually took those kind of same costumes and had at the Washington Pride Parade just a group of kind of the Barbie skate squad. So we had a Barbie, we had a Ken, we had loads of other kind of dressed up kind of characters that were just there to show support for a particular community around Pride and Pride celebrations, which meant that it's just creating that kind of very human connection, resonating with those audiences and saying, hey, you know what's important to you guys is representation, equality, and celebration. As a brand, that's also what's important to us, and we are putting resource and representation into this to support you. So it was a perfect kind of marketing opportunity, but in a way that actually is something a little bit more meaningful. One of the biggest things that we see, and this is something that often comes up in Sprout Social's Brands Get Real report year on year, is that audiences want brands and businesses to be changing the world for the better and passionate about things that they're passionate about. And this very much ticks both of those boxes.
Yeah, no, and it's back to decision made years in advance, month in advance, and coming to fruition. That's very, very good. I mean, you talked a lot about user generated content. The one that I saw a lot featured online was during the cinema screening before the IMAX. They had literally life-size boxes, empty boxes of the Barbie and the Kens, and people could just join in and kind of strike a pose where they look scared or whichever. That was very, very good. But of course, which is often the case, you can also access filters, and they had a Barbie selfie generator as well.
Yes, yeah, Barbie selfie generator, absolutely huge. So again, coming back to you having your audiences create something that's then marketing the film directly, kind of for you as a brand, because they then utilizing their own audiences. Plus, it's one of those things where in the world of kind of heavily edited images and the type of images that people might want to produce of themselves and put those online, having something that's a little bit airbrushed and a little bit fun and kind of celebrates things that they're interested in, it kind of ticks those boxes. We saw them host a dedicated website for this, which was pushed with several kind of like influencers and brands. We saw lots of guides on how to use the Barbie selfie generator, even though it was quite a self-explanatory kind of thing. But that worked really, really well. And we also saw dedicated filters on, again, a little bit, as we talked about at the beginning, go to where your audiences already are. So for some audience members, build it online and they will come to you. For other audience members that are perhaps less likely to be in front of a desktop, I'm thinking kind of your under 18s, you can put that onto a platform that they're already active on, like your Snapchat or like your Instagram or kind of like a kind of meta facility, and they will use the filter on there. So really, they kind of covered all of their bases, which is not surprising, given the quite substantial marketing budget that was behind the campaign.
Yeah, but that said, they could have gone the other way, which is where it would be more of a push marketing. We have lots of money. Let's create lots of assets. Let's just literally throw all those assets through all channels from TV, radio, print, and online, and so on. But actually, at the heart of it, which I know is one of the lessons you're taking with yourself, is getting the audience involved during the lead up to the premieres, and then the IMAX, and then the home entertainment version. And I'm sure there'll be, I wouldn't be surprised, a bit like 𝗍𝗵𝗲 𝗢𝗏 and a few others, where once a year there's an event where people go back to the movies to take part into the celebration.
Oh, I would like that a little bit, but it might even be the new Rocky Horror Picture Show if we're all getting dressed up as Barbie still in 10 years' time and going along to see it.
Well, listen, if I managed to dress like Dr. What was he called? Frankenfurter. I'll get dressed like Ken. So a couple of things I wanted to mention to you that I spotted when I was looking at the platform. So X, Twitter, very clever use of the music as an additional hook, particularly Mark Ronson, very active on Twitter, and that's when you discover that they had an additional way to promote the movie through the Barbie music as well. But they released the entire Barbie score. In fact, I was listening to it whilst doing the research for people to listen to it. What I like a lot, and many movies do so, is the repurposing of comments and accolade, from critics and fans, where they take the words, but they are transformed in line with the calligraphy, the color palette, and the composition of the film. And there was some really elegant kind of pop-up, postcards with the comments. And on the subject of postcards, one thing that I thought was very, very clever is the character postcards. So you had because one of the attractions for me is, I'm actually amazed at the billing. I mean, these are big names in Hollywood and beyond, with lots of British actors as well, and they all got given their little postcards where they all featured with a Barbie calligraphy and so on. They've got almost like a splash, which reminds me a bit of a sticky label, and the little sentence that's meant to describe the character is some sort. So the character postcards I thought was very, very good. And countdown, they had I think a 5-day countdown, 3 days to go, 4 days tomorrow, and then on the morning itself, again, Barbie gave you the agenda. Get up at 9 o'clock, do this, ring your friend, 12:30, go at the cinema to watch Barbie. So again, a lot of little elements that was using, which frankly is an amazing gift for marketers. You've got the branding sorted out. You just have to respect it and lean on it.
Oh, absolutely. And how could you not? Such a big brand and so well known.
Absolutely. Now, listen, you said this has been an amazing campaign. And what I liked about it, it's really matching the tone of the movie. Everything expands from that. It's not like an amazing marketing campaign and movie that it's just a bit, it all matches. But just thinking out loud, is there anything else they could have done, or anything that you think they may have missed potentially?
Oh, it's so hard because they did so much to kind of spot the kind of gaps. I think for me, I think they could have done a little bit more of that kind of marketing with purpose. Now, you always run a little bit of a risk as to whether then the kind of the purpose overtakes your marketing agenda of kind of what you're trying to push. They did do a little bit of work with 𝗧𝗵𝗿 around kind of helping kind of young women and kind of education and kind of training and development. So that was really nice to see. I think there would have been potential for, if we look at kind of other famous like marketing campaigns and branding, a little bit of an almost kind of Dove-like take on marketing, where they have very kind of affirming kind of women-led stories within their kind of marketing of the products that often take that kind of main narrative. I think there possibly would have been a little bit of scope for the Barbie movie to kind of support this, whether they were going to kind of go something and kind of, really hang their hat on a Barbie scholarship program in the States, or, kind of Barbie toy drive or something, just something that was an absolutely huge initiative. And you think, wow, this movie's changing the cinema world, but also changing the world a little bit for the better. A little bit that sort of warm and fuzzy feeling you got from kind of the skate team arriving at kind of like the Washington Pride, but actually doing something that kind of just had a little bit more of a kind of long-term effect. Now, that's not to say that this could not come in the wake of the film, but just if I was to be absolutely super critical, I think there would be a little bit more scope for actually changing the world for the better for women, which is certainly a narrative that Barbie tackled in the film.
Yeah.
But whether they could do a little bit more to kind of give us more, I guess, brightness in the future, and sort of take all of that, looking at how sometimes the world might not be the kind of the Barbie dream, but how we can best support women through that to have the best possible lives, regardless of things that might not always go right.
Absolutely, and you're right. It's tricky. So for me, it was more in the spirit of completeness. What else could they have done? I've got a small question, which is just out there because you don't have the answer. I was surprised to see that the Instagram account, the posting pretty much stopped the moment the movie went live. I think the last post on Instagram was 21st of July 2023. So the question mark is almost like, I wonder why they stopped the activity. And that could be part of the strategy, where they won't then concentrate more on Facebook and Twitter. Maybe the Warner Brothers Instagram account then took over from that point. It's fascinating. And no live sessions that I could find. So again, it just, as I was going through the checklist of things you can do on social, and think, interesting. It was not to do a live. To your point, that could come much later. But it's not as if, because of everything else that they've done, it was missed, and it was a massive gap, in the deliverables and the strategies. So, fine selection, Natalie 𝗍𝗍,
Thank you.
Barbie, and I'm even keener now to come back to the UK to watch it in English. I'm sure there'll be a cinema playing it still to this day.
Sure.
For your viewers and listeners, a big thank you for joining us again in another episode of the Social Media Newsroom. I hope you've enjoyed the news, the update, but also our recounting of the marketing of Barbie social media special. Please join us for a next episode. In the meantime, leave your comments in the usual places. Feel free to send via any of the social networks, and email a suggestion for the next social media marketing of your favorite films that you'd like Natalie and I to react to. Thank you again for being an amazing co-host, and for all the time researching, Natalie. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
Okay, bye everyone. See you on the next one.